folks, it's Steve here from Analytics in Action, and what I want to do today is give you a rundown on how to install SQL Server 2008 Release 2 onto a PC running Windows Vista. Okay, so I'll talk about 5 things today. First of all, what is SQL Server and why would you want to use it? I'll talk about the licensing options, particularly in relation to getting hold of a fairly cheap copy of SQL, which you can so you can learn how to use it without having to shell out the expense of a full commercial copy. Then I'll walk you through the steps to install a fully featured copy of SQL onto a PC. Then I'll talk about some of the additional resources of getting help installing SQL, so in case you run into any problems even after after going through my demo. And then I'll also give you a few links for learning SQL. Okay, so what is SQL Server and why I want to use it? Well, at its heart, Microsoft SQL Server is a database. So it's like I suppose, grown-up version of Microsoft Access that can hold more data. It manages larger data sets a lot more efficiently, and basically has a lot more smarts around managing databases, managing data, particularly data sources over a couple of gigabytes, which is the limit of Microsoft Access. But in addition to this, the core database functionality has a number of add-on services. So services such as SQL Server integration services. So integration services is a ETL tool, so it's an extract, transform, load tool. So it's designed to extract data out of multiple source systems to transform that data. So that transformation might be something like merging 3 files together, as is shown in this diagram. But also you can do a range of different things, such as cleansing data, aggregating data, and then the last thing that integration services does is to shoot that data off into a destination. And that destination can often be a SQL Server database, but it can be any destination, such as a Excel file or a text file or a Oracle file, you name it. You can use it as a destination. So other examples of services that are run that are associated with SQL Server are analysis services. So analysis services allows you to do things like build OLAP cubes or predictive models. Then we have reporting services, which is sort of self-explanatory. It's just a reporting tool similar to say Crystal Reports. And then we have a few other services such as SQL Server Agent, which allows you to schedule things like SQL Server integration services packages. So if you want to pull data out of a source system and shoot it off to another database at 1 o'clock on a Sunday morning, you can use SQL Server Agent service to schedule that, and then it'll run automatically. Right, so in terms of licensing a copy of SQL Server, there's a number of different options. You can get a 180-day free trial using for the Enterprise Edition, but you need to download that and then burn that as an ISO. So you just need to obviously look into how you need to actually have a DVD burner, a DVD, and be able to burn that. So there's a little bit of messing around with that. You may need to do a bit of a Google search to sort that one out. By far the easiest way to get a copy of SQL Server is just purchase a SQL Server developer license. That also comes in the Enterprise Edition, so that's the fully spec'd feature. So it's the same version that that large enterprises use, but it has everything you need. So that's probably the way forward that I'd recommend. Just go and spend $50 odd, just type in SQL Server Developer Edition into say Amazon. It'll come up, and I think currently it's about $47. and that's opposed to going for the full commercial license, which is known as the volume license, which ranges from anywhere between about $2,000 up to $10,000, depending on whether you're looking at the standard edition or the full-on enterprise edition. So once you've got your DVD with SQL on it, just stick it in the DVD drive, and what it'll do is just come up with this run execute. Click yes. Then you get this SQL Server Installation Center startup window. So it gives you a whole heap of options where you can investigate a number of different things. So whether you've got the right hardware and software requirements, it'll also provide things like upgrade documentation, install upgrade advisor. So there's a lot of information there, and you could spend all day looking into that. What I'd recommend is you go into the top one here, the hardware and software requirements, and just check that to make sure that your your PC meets those. Essentially, what the key thing is there, the key thing is that you, I suppose, meet a couple different requirements. And on the software front, you need to have Microsoft Windows Installer 4.5 or a later edition and the .NET framework installed. So if that comes up that you're missing that, just do a quick Google search to download those. Unfortunately, those are quite big software downloads if you do need to install it. The good news is on the hardware front, SQL doesn't really require that that powerful hardware. Most modern laptops would be fully spec, would have enough power. So this is, and what I'm going to do is when I talk about the installing of SQL, I'm talking about the 32-bit, which is just the stock standard version. It's not the 64-bit, which is a bit more higher spec. So you don't have to have, in terms of the OS, just basic old home Vista will take care of it. All you need is a 1 gigahertz processor, although they do recommend a little bit faster at 2, and then a minimum of RAM. Ideally, again, but ideally go for 4. Right, so once you've got the make sure you've got those prerequisites, and a lot of PCs already have those prerequisites installed. You select a new installation or add features to an existing installation, and double click that. That'll set off basically a wizard. Initially the setup support rules, and it's really just a matter of clicking through these and just clicking OK. Next thing, you'll come up with the product key. So if you're running the trial edition, you can just click the evaluation option. If not, if you've bought the developer edition, just put in the product key. Good thing about the developer edition, it doesn't run out, unlike the 180-day free trial. Right, so again, just next. Licensing terms, just say again next. Set up support files, again, just install. So all up, there's probably about 25 of these windows which you just have to click through. There are a couple of tricky ones where you do need to know what you're putting in, and I'll highlight those as we go. So yeah, setup rules, next. So set up the role. What you want to do is a SQL Server feature installation. So that's really just pretty much the bulk standard. So it's got the database engine and the services that I mentioned before. So analysis services, reporting services, integration services, and a few other features. So then, in terms of selecting what features we want, probably the easiest thing is to go down and select all. So you've got all of the potential features that you might want, so you won't have to go back and install anything later on. So once you've selected all, just go next. Now this installation rules, it'll come back and provide any information whether there are any issues. or warnings. What it's done here is come up with a warning that there's some sort of shared component. It's only a warning. It's not stopping the installation from actually occurring, so we can pretty much ignore that. Then need to install it's the instance configuration. So you'll be able to just go ahead and, if you haven't installed SQL on your machine before, just click the default instance. That'll come up with this MySQL MS SQL Server default installation. Just go ahead. Okay, in the next window, the installation process checks whether you got enough memory on your PC. Obviously, on your PC. So obviously, I've run into a problem here that I don't. So I'm just going to get rid of some audio books that are taking up too much memory. Once I've done that, it's all fine. Says there's enough space. Just click next. Okay, so this next screen is about the server configuration. So what I've done is I've already filled this in, but I actually didn't use the most optimal settings. So at the moment this is predominantly set on NT Authority network service. So this account name essentially controls the privileges associated with each of the services. So basically how that service can interact with other services on the PC. So I'll just click onto this next page. There's actually a lot of information on the web. Essentially, what I'd recommend you do is use the NT Authority /system, which is once you click on the each one of those little boxes, it'll give you that as an option and have the service set as automatic. So basically, this local system account provides very high privileges, so you're not going to be locked out of anything. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Once you've done that, you need to set up the database configuration, which is again as simple as just adding a user. So click add current user and you'll be given the right you'll be added as a user. Right, so same thing with the analysis services configuration. Add yourself as a user. Reporting services, just install the native mode default configuration. A lot of these sort of things you don't need to know too much about the various settings. If you're just going to be installing it onto a PC, it's pretty much a really basic install, so you can pretty much accept most of the default settings here. Then you just decide whether you want to send Windows and Windows Server error reports to Microsoft. Some people want to do that, some people don't. Doesn't really matter either way. Then click next. So next window is just installation configuration rules. Again, just click on next. You don't have to worry about that. Now it goes through to the stage where they actually is doing the actual installation of SQL Server. So click install, and unfortunately this is the slow part. So this can take up to a couple of hours on your PC. So it'll take it took me I think about an hour and a half this stage. But essentially all it involves is watching a green line proceed across the screen. So grab yourself a drink or a coffee, and periodically sort of come back and check on how it's going. And then finally you get to the end and you've successfully installed SQL Server. So it's a fairly simple process. There's only one or two settings in there that could really trip you up. If you do get a conflict, or SQL asks you to do something that's not totally intuitive, what I'd recommend is having a look at the SQL Server setup and upgrade form on MSDN. So you can just do a Google search, MSDN SQL Server setup and upgrade, and you can ask questions. And no doubt someone's come across that problem before, and will be able to help you out. So that's really it. So once you've actually got SQL installed, feel free to come across and have a look at my website, Analytics in Action, which is all about business intelligence, SQL Server, analytics, or what you can also do is subscribe to this YouTube channel, so you'll get alerts every time I add more training videos on SQL Server, business intelligence, and analytics. Hope you found this video useful.